Howdy, and welcome back to Celebrating Vintage Model Kits. Today we got something a little different. We're going to be looking at a partially wood kit from Strombecker from the early 50s. It's one of the kind of transitional model kits. Uh, just before plastic, most of the kits were made in some form of wood, being solid or some other kind of put together, but they were pretty much all exclusively wood. Then there was a little bit of die-cast parts, and then after World War II, you started seeing a little bit of plastic parts being introduced. In this case, this is about as far as the wood got, where you got quite a bit of plastic involved with the kit. And then that's kind of the swan song of these solid wood kits. So we'll get a little bit into this and see how these kits looked. So this particular one is made by Strombecker. It is of Lockheed XFV-1, sometimes called the Salmon. Not to be confused with the Pogo, which was produced by Convair for the same specification that the Navy had requested. But it's got prominent letters here. You see VTO, so that's for vertical takeoff. If you're unfamiliar with this aircraft, it was proposed that the Navy wanted to have fighter defense for convoy ships. They thought, well, we got carriers, but we don't have enough if we ever have to get into another war. It'd be simpler just to put a fighter protection on a convoy ship, and they thought the vertical takeoff and landing would be an effective way of doing that. So they thought. Didn't quite work out that way. Everybody was trying various different forms of VTO throughout the 50s and 60s, and it really wasn't until the British Harrier that a really truly usable, effective vertical takeoff and landing aircraft was produced. So let's look at this kit a little bit more and see what we got. So this is a fold box. It's all printed directly onto the cardstock of the box. So that gives us this kind of muted look, as opposed to some of the brighter slicks of the other kits that we see. So when you see it kind of dull, it usually means it's printed directly onto the cardboard. And look at the information on here. We got all parts completely shaped, and that's referencing the wood ones. Easy to build, no carving tools needed. A lot of the early wood solids were, you basically just get like a lump of balsa wood or pine or something else, and you'd have to really spend a lot of time carving this thing. But the Strombecker was known for these pre-carved wood parts, which made the assembly a lot easier, made for a much nicer kit. So they're calling that out on here. On the side, showing you a little bit about what the airplane did. Takes off straight up, levels out for high-speed flight, and then it comes back down onto its X-tail for a landing. On the other side, showing you what you're getting in the kit. So it's a combination kit. Kit outstanding. So it shows you what the wood parts are going to be, and then what the plastic parts are going to be. And you got where Strombecker was. Looks like Moline, Illinois. And you could join their Captain Jet Model Makers Club. On the end, you've got some more information, a little bit more detail about the size. So this 1/6 inch to 1 foot translates to 1/72 scale. And it's kit number C50-89, so this was an 89-cent kit in the day. And a little bit more about what you're getting, the instructions. Then we'll go around the other side. And this is looks pretty much identical to the first side. And nothing on the bottom. So let's open it up. So we'll set the decals aside for right now. And you get a little ad from Strombecker to join their Captain Jet Club. Get an official badge. It's even signed by Captain Jet, Chief Model Maker. And big join now for the official badge. And so you put your information on here. You close a 25-cent coin and the end panel from a kit, and you'd send it away, and you'd be part of the Captain Jet Club. So kind of neat. And then look at the instruction sheet. So you've got some photographs of the actual aircraft, which is kind of neat. Helps you with, I guess, your decal placement and what the paint job would kind of look like. And then following this instructions, first they're having you get the sandpaper ready, how to deal with the wood parts, painting your model. Here's the wing stuff, wingtip assemblies, tail assemblies, propeller assembly, and finally the canopy, and then decal trim. And like we've seen in some other kits, if you are missing a part, you could send in, and with 10 cents, let's see, defective decal should accompany your request for replacement, otherwise they'll charge you 10 cents. So if you wanted new decals, you had to send the old ones in order to get a new set of decals if they were damaged. Otherwise, they'd charge you 10 cents for it. That's that side. On the flip side, we've got a nice 3-view drawing of the Salmon. Give you some decal placement, a little more information. I wouldn't be surprised if this is in 1/72nd scale. And then a little bit of facts about the XFV-1. And of course, some more Captain Jet stuff. And then an exploded view down at the bottom there. Let's take a look at the decals. Pretty nice. Surprisingly, these have not yellowed. So these are of a specific aircraft, number 657. This was actually the first prototype, and the only flying prototype. Lockheed did build 2 aircraft, but only one was actually used for flight testing. And what's kind of neat, I think this is neat, if you see the Lockheed logo with the XV-1, they did it where it could be viewed either way, whether it's sitting on its tail or whether it's flying. Kind of a neat thing. And some instructions on the back for how to apply your decals. So this particular one, 657, was, as I mentioned before, the first prototype that did actually fly. Lockheed's chief test pilot, Herman Fish Salmon, was the pilot. They were doing some high-speed test runs with it. They first wanted to fly it as kind of a normal aircraft, so they set up a rig with a fixed landing gear to be able to fly it first and make sure that it was a sound flying aircraft before they attempted to do any kind of vertical takeoff and landing. So when Fish was doing some high-speed runs with it, it actually took off a little bit. So Fish, its first real hop, if you want to call it, was on 28 December 53, but its first official flight didn't occur until 16 June of 54. Ultimately, there was a total of 32 flights. They never did any true vertical takeoff and landings with this. There was a couple of times where they did transition from a horizontal flight to a vertical flight and kind of hover for a little bit, but they never actually tried to land this thing vertically or take off vertically. The pilots that were flying it thought that it was incredibly difficult to fly, as quite a number of these tail sitter aircraft that were being put out at that time just were real pain to keep under control. So I'm going to show you some images of 657, and we'll get back to the kit itself. So here is some of the stuff that comes in the box. You got a little piece of board with a pre-cut out piece of sanding paper that you would glue onto here to be able to help you with sanding. And then a finer grit sandpaper for finishing it off. So a little heavy, a little light. So that was fairly common with most of your wood kits. They would provide you with some of the tools to be able to do that. And here is the pre-shaped hardwood fuselage. You can see it's fairly well carved into the basic shape. What was needed, you can see how they say, minimal amount of sanding would be needed. Cockpit looks a little bit off, but pretty decent piece of wood. Other wood parts are the propeller. So you'd stack those there. Looks like you get a nail to help put that in place. Then you cap it with that piece, the covering up the nail. So pretty nice carved pieces here. And then finally, the other wood pieces are the tip tanks. Already pre-slotted to go onto the wings. Now here are the plastic parts. Came in this cellophane, which is cracked open on the side over the years. Makes it easier for us to be able to look at. Come on out, there we go. So early plastic. So you get a couple of wings. Got a recessed panel line on it. That's actually, you know what? That's probably for the aileron of some kind. Then you get some of these tail pieces, and again some recessed lines. Pretty nice little rendition of the castering wheel. Focus. There we go. So you get 4 of those for the circiform tail. And here's your blades. Pretty nice blades. Pop into those little holes that were pre-drilled. Looks like some sort of fairing. And here's your little pilot you could stick in that little cockpit opening. Just a little head. What's nice is they've got, a lot of these pieces have got this little extra tab, so that way the plastic would get fully injected, which is nice. So it was a short shot. Then here's the canopy. Nice clear piece. A little heavy on the framing, but very distinct that, yep, that is where the framing is. Pretty thick, as you can see. But it's nice to get a clear canopy to put on your little wood kit. So that's about it with it. Give you a little, show you how nice these Strombecker kits were. They were known to be some of the finest of the wood kits, and you can see how nicely these fit. Yeah, one of your tail pieces in here, maybe. It's got a little bit of flash, but they would slot together like that. You'd come up with a pretty decent little kit. Not a lot of extra work on the wood. So there was one other Salmon kit that was produced around the same time. Aurora put one out in believe 148 scale that came out around the same time of 1954. They issued that a couple of times and stopped. Last issue of that was in 1957. The kit ended up never being released again and is one of the rarer kits of the Aurora series. There was also a kit in a vacuform one from Air Model in 72nd scale, was released around 2000. There was a couple of other 72nd scale injection molded, one from Volam from Czechoslovakia in 2005. And there was also a Pegasus UK one in 1992. So not a whole lot of kits available for this very interesting aircraft. As I mentioned, they only built 2 of these, only one flew. They both still exist. The first prototype, which is what this kit represents, or the markings represent at least, is on display at the Sun and Fun campus in Lakeland Linder Airport in Florida. And the second one, which never flew, is on display in the Los Alamitos Army Airfield in California. And so, interesting aircraft. Interesting, kit to show the transition from the wood to the plastic. If you've ever built something like this, let me know in the comment section. Interested to hear of anybody who has built one of these. I know my dad, when he was young, built a lot of these. And in fact, this particular kit comes from his stash of kits that he's going to be building now that he's retired. So I think a lot of guys from his generation grew up post-World War II, were initially building kits of this era. So if you've put one of these together, put it in the comments. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and have yourself a great day.